What if I told you the people we call ancient were actually possibly more awake than we are? What if the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Hopi Indians weren't primitive, but they were seeing something we've been trained to ignore? Because across continents, across time, they all believed the same thing. There is a creator, there is a spiritual realm, and death is not the end. And then today, we are all told nothing created everything. You are your own God. And when you die, well, it's just over. You just go to sleep. But here's the question: what if we didn't evolve into truth? What if we drifted away from it? Welcome back to From Slumber to Scripture. I'm your host, Amber. This is a fascinating topic. We just celebrated Easter. Welcome back, everybody. As I record this, it's actually the day after Easter. And this past weekend, I hosted an Easter brunch and a birthday party. So it's been a busy weekend, but it was awesome with lots of family. And there's a lot of things going on in my family, a lot of people that haven't been in church, and a lot of people are seeking God. It's really fascinating, I think. And maybe we're living in a time where a lot of us are feeling frustrated or overwhelmed and feel like the world is just off and people are seeking truth. And I think that's what's happening. And so one of the topics came up is like, we've just been, maybe you want to say, programmed or trained or taught since very little in the school systems that there is no God, that we are God, and that somewhere along the way, our society, our culture has really tried to sever the ties of the spiritual realm. And our ancestors knew this, understood this, and along the way, we have been told to forget, maybe programmed to forget. But I think it's time for us to start waking up to experience the spiritual realm, to experience our creator and what is in the afterlife. And so this is what we're going to talk about today. And first, let's just pray. Dear God, I just thank you so much for family and for friends. And I thank you that we can have conversations. I just thank you that we can have difference of opinions, but come together respectfully and really just really seek you and seek truth. And Lord, I just ask that you speak through me with this episode. And Lord, you are the one true God. And I know for me personally, for so long, I didn't believe and I looked at myself as God. And so I know that you've forgiven me, you've healed me, and you delivered me of this. But Lord, I just encourage others, if they're questioning, if they're wondering, that you just start to poke in their souls, just give them a little love and just asking these questions. I just hope that this gets us closer to you. So I thank you so much for just all of your blessings in your name. Amen. Okay. So with all my studies this past year, I've just really have dove into ancient civilization, right? Because there's a past, we have a history. There has been people and society and tribes that have gone before us. So we are not new to living this world, living this path on this earth. And so it's so revealing that our ancestors, the people before us, every ancient civilization had a creator. They had a spiritual realm. They had life after death. And so let's read. We're going to start with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. I'm reading a little bit more. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evenings and the morning were the first day. And then it just keeps going of how God created the world. There was a creator. And another conversation that came up this weekend was I was sharing with some family members. I mean, this is very new for me to be sharing. Well, because my life has been so transformed this past year by reading the Bible cover to cover has really transformed my life. And so the Bible just starts to explain everything. There is a creator. And if we go out in nature, we go on walks, we go on hikes, we go camping, there's so much beauty and so many details. Even a live birth. I have been in, I think, 4 births. And just being in a birth, if you've seen your child being born, if you've experienced birth, in and out of itself, that is just such a miracle. And so our ancestors lived in nature. They were in tribes. They lived in huts. They did not live like we live today, right? So they were walked in nature. They had to go hunt their food and they had to go fetch their water. And so they were constantly in the midst of God's beauty, of God's creation. People from all over the continents, they were in nature every single day. And so our ancestors understood and believed, whether their beliefs were the one true God or their beliefs were fallen watchers and Nephilim who became the gods of old. They believed in a hierarchy. They believed in a creator. We're going to read Romans 1:20. Let's read Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, the wind, the storm, the rain, like we can't see the wind, right? But it's there. I think that's why it's so important to be in nature. But through everything God made, we can see his invisible qualities just from all around us, the mountains, the volcanoes. And so this is not a coincidence. This is imprint. God has given us imprints. His thumbprints, his fingerprints are everywhere around us in the world. In ancient Egypt, I've talked about this a lot. I was in Egypt in October. I mean, they believed in Ra, and Ra equals creator and life designed around the afterlife. I went into so many tombs that they would bring all their furniture and all their earthly belongings in their tomb for the afterlife. They believed in judgment before Osiris. So they had all these different gods and they prepared eternally, daily. They were constantly looking ahead for the afterlife. They didn't fear death. They prepared for it. And again, that's just the Egyptian culture, but we see it in so many different cultures. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Let's read that. Ecclesiastes 3:11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from the beginning to the end. So other cultures, other ancient societies believed in a creator, and there is a one true God. If we read the Bible, there is Yahweh. There is a one true God, the God of everything, the God that created. And this God, like my other podcast, we've talked about the spiritual realm. There's order in the heavenly courts. We've got the watchers, that these spirit beings fell and went on the earth and mated with women. It's this whole progression and wanted to become gods themselves. And so even though different ancient societies may have worshiped and believed in a false god, our ancestors believed in a spiritual realm and were spiritual and they prepped for it. They believed there was more to come. And even the Sumerians, like one of some of the earliest records, they believed in Enki, creator of mankind, and spiritual beings interacting with humans. And again, it goes back to the Bible. And that's where I was always so confused with like all these different societies. They had very similar stories, right? A lot of people talk about that. Like all these different ancient societies have very similar stories. They have stories about the flood. They have this God and you have eternal life. Goes back to the very beginning, the Bible, of one true God, the creator, creating a spiritual family and giving them free will. And some of that family, that spiritual family, breaking off and wanting to be their own God. So it all makes sense. And these mythological gods and Thor and Zeus, and we have the Greek gods, we have the Egyptian gods, and all of them are just so similar. But in my opinion, they all go back to Genesis, and they go back to free will and free choice. Every society, including us, has choice. We have choice to serve a God or not serve a God. We have a choice to believe in a spiritual realm or not believe. But our ancestors, this one we're going to talk, this episode, we're just really focusing on what we've lost in our culture and our society today. Because I do truly think we've lost a gift. Somewhere along the way, there has been an agenda, or we've been programmed, or there's been a plan to sever our spiritual tie to our creator. And is that bringing us forward in the world? I think it's brought us backwards, because we weren't meant to do life alone. We weren't meant to do life as we are our own God. There was just an explosion. We just came to be, or we just came from monkeys. It feels very unpurposeful, that thought and that way of living, like living with a purpose of, it doesn't really matter really what I do. I'm just going to die and go to sleep, and that is it. Or I just came from monkeys. It feels a little bit less purposeful of living, in my opinion. And our ancestors, though, they lived more with purpose because they were intertwined with the spiritual realm. Again, even if they were believing the wrong thing, there was a knowing that there were things greater than them. There was the spiritual realm. And so the spirit beings, even the Sumerians interacting with humans, if we go back to Genesis 6, we have that in the Bible that specifically says the fallen angels, they mated with women. They became, and we have the Nephilim, we have the giants, and then the giants and the Nephilim died, which created demons. So there is this spiritual realm. There is this whole other world going on that we as humans cannot see, but does not mean that it's not real. And so even the earliest writing says we are not just physical, which is fascinating. And then the afterlife, like ancestors in the afterlife, they were always focused on the afterlife, continued existence. And then we're going to read Job 38, 4-7. And I love the book of Job. If you're going through struggles, the book of Job. So Job 38, 4-7. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding, who determined its measurement? Surely you know, stretched the line upon it, to where its foundations fastened, or who laid its cornerstone, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut in the sea with the doors, when it burst forth and issued from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and the thick darkness its swaddling band, when I fixed my limit for it and set bars and doors, when I said, this far you may come, but no farther, and here your proud waves must stop. This is God talking to Job's friends and saying, were you there at the beginning of creation? Were you there when I laid the foundation of the earth? Were you there when I put the sea in its place, the ocean in its place? And when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Here we have mentioned again, all the sons of God shouted for joy. God had a spiritual realm. God created a spiritual family. And that's where all the Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians, all these ancient stories go all the way back to Genesis. And our ancestors and all the people that walk this earth before us recognized that, understood that. And I think a lot of that is because they lived in nature. We didn't have our screens and our phones and just been giving all this constant communication. They had to, life was shorter. Life was calmer, more peaceful, more, we have this rush all the time. And so I just feel like it's time for us to awaken, because there is a creator, there is a God. He wants to give you purpose. He loves you. He accepts you just as you are. You don't have to walk through life on your own by yourself. You don't have to walk through life with your joy and your love and your worthiness tied up to other humans, because humans are going to fail you over and over and over again, over and over. And so even if we look at the Indians, the Hopi Indians, they Tawa is the creator and humanity moving through worlds and life and spiritual tests and death equals transition. They didn't separate life from the spiritual. And I think a great amount of our society that has been taken away from us, the spiritual aspect of life has been taken away. And I think that has been a disservice, because I think the amount of anxiety and depression and fear is rampant now. Because as humans, so many humans, maybe it's you, I know it was me for a very long time, are trying to walk this earth alone, thinking that we have got to figure it all out. Like, I'm in control of my life, my decisions, everything. I'm in control because I'm God of my life. But it's so exhausting. It's so hard. That's not how we were meant. That's not how we were created. That is not how we were meant to live without a knowing and a knowledge of the spiritual realm. And Isaiah 26:19. Let's look at Isaiah. I have like little notes so I can hopefully get here really quickly. Here's Isaiah 26:19. Your dead shall live together with my dead body. They shall rise. Awake and sing, who dwell in the dust. For your dew is like the dew of the herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Let me read it one more time. Your dead shall live together with my dead body. They shall rise. Awake and sing, you who dwell in dust. For your dew is like the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. And we have, that's Isaiah, and we have Jesus coming and talking about the kingdom of heaven and afterlife, and all our ancestors in the past and all over the different continents talked about an afterlife. And here we are in this science, technology-based society and culture that's just trying to drill in us that that is not real. But if we look backwards, this is why I love that I've just been keep looking backwards. If you see the paintings and the tombs, if you look at different societies, if you look backwards, it all points to something greater than humans. It all points to a spiritual realm. And then the decision is, going forward, is like, what are you going to believe? If you want to believe in the spiritual realm, if you're starting to wake up and realize, yeah, there is something more than me, there is something greater than me, I want to believe there is a heaven, then I want to encourage you to start reading the Bible, and even just starting from the beginning. If you go to Genesis, and here's the thing too, we were talking about at Easter, is when you ask God to start revealing himself to you, to start showing himself, he really will. He will really show up for you and peel back the layers. It's like an onion, like there's so many different layers in this. And when you start to read it from cover to cover, it takes on a whole different story. It's almost like a movie. When I remember sitting last spring and early summer, I would sit on my back porch and just read every day. And I was like, okay, I've read every other book from cover to cover. Why have I not reading the Bible cover to cover? So I would sit there and just read on the couch like any fiction book, any nonfiction book, from cover to cover. And then I would circle it and mark it and put question marks on it and say, God, I don't understand this. God, can you show me this? And it just started to reveal himself, and especially the spiritual realm. And I think it's a disservice too. I think a lot of churches don't even dive into the spiritual realm, the heavenly courts, the order, the roles, like I think we should, because we need to awaken that we're more than just flesh and bones. We have a soul in us. And that's something that I have always believed in. I believed in a soul. Like, we each have a soul. And I don't know about you, but for me, I think this is part of, like, I think our soul never ages. Like inside, we just never age. I don't know if you have a magic age. I have like 19 in my soul. My body is definitely 48. But this soul is given to us. We are a person. We are a soul. We are not flesh and bones. Like, this is all going away. We will face our last breath one day. Like, this is all temporary. We're going to get wrinkles. We're going to go and get all the dark spots. Like our body is going to eventually fail us till we have our last breath. And so the question is, what happens when you breathe your last breath? What do you believe in? Our society, our culture, how we've been raised as kids in the public schools, on media, on our TVs, in our newspapers have been very over and over and over science based, science based. And the science that they've created, who has created? The people that are running the world. They've wanted to take away our creator, our God. They've wanted to take away God from our life. They have wanted us to do life relying on their narrative, their history, their words. And their words have been so loud in so many of our lives that there is no God. There is no creator. It's been so looked upon like if you believe in God, you're kind of a crazy person. It's been stripped from us. But if you look backwards, to our past and all the humans that walked before us, that is not what they believed. They believed in more. And so I want to start encouraging us, and this is going to be a 3-part series of gaining that connection to your creator again, gaining that connection to the one true God, because there is one true God. Now, we have a lot of different religions out there. We have a lot of different denominations out there, but there is a one true God that created everything, especially if you just look around. I mean, I was on my walk today in my little neighborhood. I feel very blessed. In my neighborhood, I have like lots of little walking paths where you actually just feel like you're hiking. And there's like a little area where there's a beaver dam, and the community keeps coming and chopping down these little trees and moving them. Well, the little beavers, they still make their dam over and over because they know what to do. If you look in nature, if you walk, if you smell the fresh breath, and in spring, all the flowers are blooming, God created all of this. He created the world that we need oxygen, the sun, the night. He created the oceans. He created the mountains. He created the volcanoes. There was a creator, one true God. And he created a spiritual family. And there's a spiritual realm and a heavenly court. And there's roles and jobs, just like, I don't know, podcast 10 or whatever it was back previous. I talk about the heavenly realm. There is a spiritual realm that is alive and in full force, and battles going on between good and evil. And there's also this battle for you. There's a battle for me. The darkness, there is light and there is darkness. And I think a lot of us already know that, whether you're a believer or not. So many people I hear, this world just feels heavy and I don't know what's about to happen. It just feels like it's about to end. I hear that so many times from people that are not believers. And so imagine like there is something more that we cannot see going on, a battle. And the darkness, the Satan, the serpent from the garden, the dragon, the serpent of old, does not want you to meet your creator. He wants to deceive you, keep you distracted, keep you thinking that you are your own God, so he can maneuver and steer in your life. But I have to ask you this too, like, how do you truly feel being your own God and trying to direct your own life? Because I see now the anxiety, the fear, the stress, the feeling of overwhelmingness seems rampant right now. And so finding God and finding your creator, again, it's just been like such a transformational year, but ask him to reveal himself. Start reading the Bible. I want to encourage you just to read it. Start in Genesis. Our ancestors knew, our ancestors understood, and somewhere along the way are the people that the elites, those high up people, there's been agendas through media, through schools, through propaganda. Like, we have got to start waking up from the noise and not believing everything that we are told. It is good to question. It is good to question the narrative. It is good to question this spin on, were we from monkeys? Like, think about that. Like, were we from monkeys, or was there a God? And to me, once I started to accept that, I felt freedom. I felt this liberation. Didn't realize how much of a hostage I felt before finding Jesus. Truly. It's like, I think I've said this multiple times, when you're just falling in love with someone, that feeling of falling in love and you're just so giddy and happy all the time, like, that is how I feel. That's how I feel. I feel so free, and I want everybody to feel like that. And of course, not every day. I had a long prayer time today. There's sometimes I really feel the Holy Spirit, and some days it's quiet, and that is okay because I've been asking. We have a creator. You were created. You're created with purpose. And he loved you so much to give you free will and free choice, just like he did with his spiritual family. And his spiritual family, some of them went and disobeyed and came on earth and mated with women. And then that's how we get all these other gods, the Ra. And we have these other gods, these spirit beings that walk the earth. Greek mythology, it goes all the way back to the Bible. And that's where I was so shocked. I was like, wow, I had no idea. But our ancestors understood there was something more. And somewhere along the way, we have been programmed to get that cut off. It's been shut off in us. If you can't see it, you don't believe in it. Science-based stuff. Like if you don't see it, well, we don't see the wind, but the wind is there, And when we sit in a chair, we trust that we're going to sit in that chair. I mean, we could see the chair, but the chair probably doesn't make sense. Sorry. But anyways, you get what I mean. There is an element of faith. You do have to have faith to believe. Like I haven't seen Jesus in front of me ever, but I believe he is real. And it's also going back to the history, the archaeological findings, the artifacts. Like if we go backwards and do the research for yourselves, it's so fascinating. So for 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, for the things we see now will soon be gone, but the things we cannot see will last forever. Let me read that one more time. For the things we see now will soon be gone. Us, this body, the way I look now is not going to be the way I look in 10 years. It will be gone. But the things we cannot see will last forever. Earth has been around for thousands of years. There is a spiritual realm that will be forever. But we have a choice. We have a choice of whether we're going to believe the one true God and Jesus as our Messiah, or we're going to choose something different. We have choice. He's given us free will because he's loved us so much, because he didn't want to create robots. He didn't create us to be a robot. Yes, I serve you. Yes, I praise you. And we all just do the same thing. He's loved us so much. He's given us free will, just as I'm a mom. You might be a parent. We love our kids so much with unconditional love, but we cannot control them. They grow up, they get to make their own choices. They're on their own path, their own journey. We do not get to control that. We love them so much that we don't lock them in a room chained up to be our servant for our whole life. No, we want them to be like a butterfly and free and live this beautiful, wonderful life. That is what God wants of us. And he has created us with a knowing, it's in us. We just got to wake up from this narrative and this agenda that we have to, it's not severed, is what I'm trying to say. The tie with our creator, our one true God, it's not severed. It is in you. It is in me. We have a God that we can put all our hardships, all our pains, all of the things that are going on in our life that feel so overwhelming. We don't have to rely on other humans to carry us. We can actually lay it at the feet of Jesus and say, this is so much for me. Lord, I give this to you because this is so much for me. And I'm going to bring my eyes and focus on the kingdom and eternity rather than the things of this world. Because the things of this world can give us like a little bit of joy. Oh, you bought a new car? You might be excited for a week. Right? Or, what I'm talking about, like the worldly things. I know for me, I've already been sharing a lot of like my worthiness, my love was really tied to other people, and I didn't even realize it. Rather than focusing on God, like my whole world now is like, Lord, you be in the center of my life. Be in the center of my life because you are God and I am just human. And so the Bible doesn't just introduce new ideas. It confirms what humanity always knew. It confirms what humanity always knew. The Bible, I really, really believe this after all my reading. And again, I'm just learning and I'm just sharing, but really pick up a Bible and start reading and say, God, I need you to help me. And start in Genesis, because He wants you to ask questions. He wants you to seek him. He wants to show you and he wants to show up in your life, just like he rescued the Israelites and he parted the sea and like all these stories. Is what I'm saying. It's like watching a movie when you start reading the Bible from cover to cover. He is real. There is a spiritual realm. There is a heavenly court. There is order. There is a battle going on in the spiritual realm for your soul, because darkness wants to deceive you, wants to keep you telling you that there is no creator. You were created by monkeys. There was just an explosion. There is no one true God. You are your God. You were the designer of your life. And then when you die, you just go to sleep. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. How overwhelming it is to try to figure out life completely on your own all the time. Do you feel depression? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel fear? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel heaviness? That is of the world. That is of the world. That is of cutting out the spiritual realm from us. That is the world trying to tell us there is no God when there is a God. And our ancestors all knew. They all understood there was way more than us here. So let me ask you something. If every ancient civilization believed in a creator, a spiritual realm, and life after death, who changed the story? Because somewhere along the way, we stopped looking up and we started looking only what we could touch. But your soul knows better. I know your soul knows better. You feel it, you question it, and you're waking up. So in part 2, we're going to expose exactly where this got cut out. We're going to talk about it a little bit deeper, where our connection to the spiritual realm, to our creator got cut out, and how to get back to it. So follow, subscribe, stay with me, because this just isn't information. It's us awakening and awakening up and coming back to our one true God and coming back to Jesus and knowing that we don't have to do life on our own. Like, we were not made to be God. We were not made to walk this path, this life, this hard journey of life that's very beautiful, but it's also very messy. We were not made to walk it alone. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.